tell you, man, I've been looking forward to this conversation. I went to the Columbia, Missouri for the first time last year. I was
Yeah.
blown away. It is such a cute little place. I mean, like it's kind of hard to get to, which is good. It keeps the riffraff out, probably.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. So you've been there all
Good.
your life.
I grew up in Lake Ozark, Missouri, actually. So
Okay.
yeah, been
Okay.
been back in Columbia since 17. My wife's from here. So
Okay. How
yeah,
far away is Lake Ozark, Missouri from
about an
Columbia?
hour.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
It's south of us.
And so that's how your journey started in Lake Ozark, working with your dad at the grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad, my grandpa, my dad. Exactly.
Oh, and your grandfather.
Yeah.
A lot of the people we work with are first generation families
Hmm.
kind of transitioning and thinking about how to bring the second generation into the business. And so
Yeah.
I love, your perspective that you'll be able to share in having gone through that journey, right? As the well, I guess third generation, right? So you had your
Yeah.
grandfather and your father. So that's going to be an awesome perspective. Uh,
Yes.
to share. So I'd love to, if you don't mind, like take me back to, growing up in the family business and your exposure to it and maybe some lessons learned that you might have had in working in the business as a young guy.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I was thrown right into it. In fact, that I was weighed on the scales as a kid, the produce scales. Everybody knew me. And it's interesting, if I go back a little further, and my father's interaction in the business is pretty close. In 68, my grandpa bought a store in Eldon, Missouri. He worked for a company called Fleming. Fleming was a big distributor back in the 60s and 70s. And so that's what my grandpa did, was go and supervise stores, see how they're doing, see what help they needed. And in Eldon, Missouri, the store there, the guy said, "You like the store, Paul? You need to buy it." My grandma was like, "I can't afford it." He goes, "We'll get you set up so you can buy it. And sure enough, my grandfather moved my family when my dad was a senior in high school from Kansas City, Kansas to Eldon, Missouri. So, 1,000 people in his class at his high school. My dad moves from that to Eldon, Missouri with 40 in the class. So huge culture shock.
Yeah.
And my dad graduated and went up to school, Missouri State, SMS at the time when he was there back in the 60s and 70s. And in 73, my grandpa asked my dad to come back in the business. And so I say, like, what's interesting about this third, second generation where it's really meshed together, really tightly, because my grandpa had only owned the business for 5 years when my
Mhm.
dad came back officially. So and my grandpa, really mid 80s, my dad was full swing running it. It was his deal, and
How old
and
was your
growing the
dad?
business.
How old was your dad when he joined the business?
Dad was born in 51. Of course, you work in the business, right? You moved down in high school. He'd worked in the business since 68, since my grandpa
Okay.
bought it, but went off to school
Okay.
and was doing his own thing. But grandpa needed help. Dad came back. Family of eight. At the time, I don't think they might have been close to eight, but yeah, family of eight, big family. And so, I mean, there was a brother involved in the business,
Mm.
older brother, and that drew some tension in the late 70s because it was kind of like my dad was like, it's him or me. Which, man, that drove a division of the family for sure to this day.
Oh, really?
So if we look at, I was born in 79, so I mean, the business has only been around for 11 years when I was born. And at about age 9, I believe, my mom went back to college and to get her teaching degree. And so I spent some time at the stores at like 9 years old, like actually stocking shelves, facing shelves, just doing little tasks. Nothing serious, but doing little tasks back then. So my dad threw me I got to know the business. Like, it's funny holding a box cutter to this day, still like, yeah, it feels as like walking to me. I can cap one open, slice stuff, shut it, throw off to the side like nothing. I don't cut myself. I've never cut myself because my dad threatened the crap out of me if I cut myself. I think it was fear of what mom would do, more so than the cut I would receive, right? Like he was
Yeah.
responsible for my safety while she was at school. Um, but really, I moved up pretty quick in helping out in the business. I think it was my mom was so 9. I don't know exact years, but my dad owned some real estate and had the old leasing agreements, right? The 8.5 by 14s that were on, typed paper. And he had me start typing like leasing agreements up. We had in the store, so I learned about leasing agreements at a young age, interestingly enough. I know what a good one and bad one looks like. I hired a lawyer one time to do a leasing agreement for us, and I trusted him to do it. It was a bad one. Should have done it myself. But anyways, I also, though, as my dad in 87 put in scanning in the grocery store, 1987. And Steve, who owned Springfield Business Systems, used to work for NCR, and NCR went off into a dealership model in the late 80s. And my dad was his first customer. My dad was one of the first independent grocers in Missouri to have scanners. And so that allowed data to start flowing into the system, right? So you could start like it was different back then how data went in, but we started looking at as Excel started coming around late 80s, early 90s, like how could we start reporting and doing things that were able to dig down in the granular gross profit, labor, all those things mattered, right? And so I started getting into the programming side with the grocery store, learning how to automate opening and closing reports, end of the week reports, payroll, all that kind of stuff, on top of obviously running a grocery store. So, you know, I had a great teacher. My dad's a hell of a business person. Um, Knew how to take care of the customer. Love the customer, and that's the what matters most because we work with people that could only afford to buy bologna and white bread to people that could buy Opus One and filet mignon. So you really learn to love the people and know the people. And yeah, it was a family business. I mean, my grandpa lived across the cove from us. Like I say, I grew up in Lake of the Ozarks in the heyday, like when it was coming on the scene. Like
Okay.
there's pictures that the cove we lived in was called 6 Mile Cove, and it was kind of one of the original party coves. It wasn't down the finger of our cove, like it's like if you look at your hand and play it over the lake, it's 5 Finger Cove, 6 Mile Cove, a couple of different things, but my grandpa built in 74. My dad built in, mom and dad built in 79, and there weren't any homes around. And there's not a free lot anymore. Like, 10 years later, everyone, just damn near everyone had built all over the place. So, but I also got to grow up and see something boom and take off, right? So I got all this, like, I learned all these things, not just through experience, and all that. So, and I had a love for it. I mean, I don't know, whatever it is, I've just had a love for doing. And seeing something build and create and grow. And so, throughout high school, I mean, that's what I did. I had another job when I was 13, tying up boats at a dock. It was our really good family friend, is a restaurant called John Elliott's. And so I'd go there on Saturdays, ride my Sea-Doo over to the John Elliott's when I was 13 and tie it up, work for about 5 hours. I make 50, $60 and tip tying boats up. Other than that, man, I worked at a grocery store. I mean, that's what I did. Went in with my dad in the mornings, 14, 15, turned 16. We had a couple of stores and started working at our other store a lot. And then, during school and at the University of Missouri, first couple of years of just summertime work, but my last 2 years, I originally went for engineering. And after a couple of years of engineering, I was like, it wasn't me. I don't really care where vectors and planes intersect in space. Unlike one of my sons who's already through all past way past the maths in college right now. He's a physics major. So I'm glad to see that rolling and going. But my last 2 years, really, I'm going to come back in the business. I started coming home like on Thursdays and Fridays,
The
and
last
working
two
through the
years of
weekends.
age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'd go home and work over the weekends. We would stay open late on Friday, so I come down and close stores down on Friday, and work Saturday. Probably take Sunday off, and on Monday I do all the accounts payable, all the reporting, payroll, all that kind of stuff. And then in
Was was
'01,
was that just something that you wanted to do in middle of college? I would imagine you'd be wanting to, maybe hang around the college and party or something. Or was
yeah,
that a drive, or was it a, your family was kind of just needed the help, or a little bit of both?
uh, you know, I mixed. I managed to do all of it. I managed to
Okay.
party. I managed to make some of my friends kind of upset with me because I was gone on the weekends quite often. Like my roommates and stuff. They're like, especially my last semester, they're like, Steven. I was like, yeah, I'm working, man. I party hard, back in the day. I did party hard, but I worked hard. That was just like, and
Part of your makeup.
my dad was paying me pretty damn good. I mean, that's my future, right? That was like, I was where I was, driven by not only the people and the growth, but I mean the earning potential. I mean, I was the kid that, well, my older brother, who's an aerospace engineer, isn't a manual labor guy. And I don't remember this story, but my mom was like, look down the yard and like, I was mowing the yard when my brother was supposed to be mowing it. I was doing the manual labor because my dad would pay us by the hour and work in the yard. And so I'd
Mhm.
be like, what can I do? I don't know if I did a great job or not, but I worked at it. Yeah, I was always driven
Yeah.
to be able to have money to buy things. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just, there's no question about it. In fact, and I see a therapist now to figure out childhood and who I am nowadays, because it's like how all these things just happen, right? Like
Mhm.
I just kept moving forward, to never reflect on these things. That's why I love doing a conversation like this, is to be like, why did I do what I did?
Yeah.
And in fact, I had someone as professor. So there was Columbia College, was a local college in town. Well, not local, it's a satellite. Columbia College is in Columbia, Missouri. It's a nice university, and they've got satellite campuses across the United States, and they had one in Lake of the Ozarks. And my junior and senior year, I took 9 hours each year and got college credit. Left high school, I went over like, hey, I can get college credit over here. I went and did it. And one of the professors, it was interesting. I remember this to this day. He goes, Stephen, don't waste your life in the grocery store. You have a lot more to offer. And I was like, you know how much money I'm going to make? That was what my head was at the space at the time, right? My
Yeah.
space was about, you don't get it, dude. We're making a ton of money. But to this day, I'm like, damn, maybe you had something. What could I have done differently if I wasn't just in this family business? And it wasn't so much that, I don't know that my parents expected it, but I think I was performing and doing a good job that I added to the value of the business, that it was like it just
It's
happened,
fulfilling.
right? I didn't do those things going out like go out and get a job somewhere else, prove yourself somewhere else, right? I mean, I had a few jobs in college, like slinging pagers, little things like that around town, where every time I did it, it worked, and I wouldn't have a problem going doing something
Yeah.
else. But yeah, I just went into it, man. It just
Well, as you said, I
did.
think it sounds like you're extremely self-motivated, right? You had a great mentor in your father, and your grandfather are probably also quite
Yeah,
self-motivated, so
yeah.
that's
Grandpa puts a
running
big
in
old
your
smile on the face,
bloodline.
right? Grandpa puts a big old smile on the face.
Running in your bloodline. And I mean, there's a constant conversation around fulfillment as well, and whether
Yeah,
it's earning potential, whether it's working with other family members, the customer service aspect you touched on, and it sounds like that's pretty important to you as well, is the customer and understanding who they are,
yeah.
meeting them where they are. And that's something that sounds like it's carried on throughout your entire career, even post grocery.
It has it. I like people. Yes, I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, I ran for school board twice. I was on school board. If I stayed at the lake, I probably would have been the next state rep, because the guy's seat I took over in school board went to state rep. I was his treasurer for his campaign. Probably would have been state rep. All that stuff, right? So yeah, call me a little bit of a politician, if you will, because that's what you have to be in a family business. You have to be able to work all the
Yeah.
sides, and seeing people happy and fighting to earn their business is I enjoy that, right? And you enjoy when they're like, you guys do a really good job. And my grandpa started that from the beginning, with differentiating ourselves from the competition. We dealt with we had Walmart in our backyard. I mean, Bud Walton, Sam's brother, they lived in his wife lives in Versailles, Missouri, which is just down the road from Eldon. Like, we have one of the Walmarts in Eldon, Missouri, that has a star in the middle of it still, not that, like, didn't have the dash, and like it's like was like old school. This is an old family store. And we had one of the first super centers, like in the late 80s, move in Osage Beach, Missouri, which is the collective of Lake Ozark. So yeah, it was fun to be like, let's compete. Let's earn these people's respect and do this. So
Against another
competition,
family
right?
business, the Waltons, right?
Yeah. The
Wow.
big dogs.
The big bad
The
dog.
big dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, my vision was I was gonna take Paul's supermarket, outside of mid Missouri.
Yeah.
I was gonna grow that thing. I was good at it. I was National Growth Association. I was started speaking at their conferences, like
Yeah.
on the main stage.
Yeah.
Who's now the executive chief, I forget exactly Greg's title now, but he's the top dog at NGA. He took me to Capitol Hill. I spoke in DC on behalf of NGA in 2013. So yeah, it was all, I mean, that was like, well, a big company, right? I'm gonna grow this thing beyond we had two stores when I got out of college and got built a third location. And, we were growing, had some slowdowns, of course, because '08 happens, right? There's some things that come in the way. But yeah, that was at the time, all I could see in front of me was take care of the community and growing the business. And no, I wasn't thinking about myself, except for that I had money to buy stuff and do stuff, It was like,
Yeah.
right? That fulfillment thing, I wasn't even thinking about that. It never crossed my mind because why would it? I had no worries besides just making the
I
business
feel like
run.
we really think about fulfillment when we get into our 40s. At least,
Absolutely. No question
late
about it.
30s, 40s,
Yeah.
if when we're younger, it's just go, go, go.
Yeah.
Golly, we could talk for hours. There's one thing that you mentioned, that you mentioned, you have to be a good politician in a family business, right? And have a high level of EQ, emotional intelligence. Tell me about, seeing that you mentioned your father and his brother, and just operating within a family business structure. Just if you touch on that a little bit, just the politician and the emotional intelligence topic there.
Yeah. Here's what's come in life that's been so unique. So just selling out of my this business I just created, Pro Partners. I just sold
Hmm.
out of that recently. I own that 50/50 with my business partner Wes. But um growing that hear me out. Growing that one with college students um on the EQ side was completely different than the supermarket side.
Okay.
The supermarket side, the team I had, I was the leader, right? I had the title, had the family name, and so leading was so different. I just made sure to be kind to people. I don't know how good my EQ was. I don't think it's great. I really don't. I think it's really more of I'm optimistic, and so actually my EQ I probably missed quite a bit, but I always just made sure to be good to people, treat them right at the end of the day. But I know my dad and I are both guilty of it. I mean, we'd speak a lot in meetings, We'd talk about our ideas and what we're gonna do, and here's what's gonna happen. And no one at the grocery store would like, okay, let's do it. They get excited. You get up to a company like Pro Partners and they question everything. And you're like, I this is I understand why you're questioning it, but trust me, it works this way. Like I've been through this shit. Like, and so that I think it wore on my staff a bit to be like, Steven's a know-it-all. He won't give us a chance at stuff. And I'm like, I'm giving you chances at stuff. I'm letting you do some things, but I'm letting you do them to prove that. But that's the problem. I let you do them to prove that you didn't improve anything. I already told you what was going to happen, right? And so yeah, my EQ, it's so different because I go from the supermarket where yeah, I'm the de facto leader.
Yeah.
Um, People still call me boss from the store even when I see them today that work for me will call me boss in a nice way though. It's not like salute to the boss. It's like, hey boss, how you doing? And so yeah, it's you hit on a point that's like, yeah, well, that's why I go to therapy now. It's like as I grow a new business, it's like I probably should stay out of the hiring of people and managing of people actually. Stay on the innovation, creation, and vision of a company. I think that the answer to that EQ question isn't so straightforward. Because it's situational on what kind
Yeah.
of business you're running
Hmm.
is
Well,
a is a big part of it.
and specifically with family members as well. I mean, so there's employees, right? And then there's working with family
Yeah.
members because you can't
Well,
necessarily let go of a family member and it'd be unless
And I
it's a,
never dealt with that. I never really dealt with that because it was my, because when I was in the business, it was me and my dad.
yeah.
There are people that have been in the business a long time that kind of were, family in a sense, right? Because they've been there since the
Mhm.
70s.
Yeah.
They saw me born and raised, which, it became some interesting dynamics there on that side, for sure.
Something that doesn't come up nearly as much is, and you were very close to the Waltons, right? And Walmart. It's
Yeah.
not something that in these discussions comes up super much, but I'm curious, was there any kind of family competition that y'all internalized and spoke about and said, hey, we're a stronger family than them, and or did
Well,
it push
no,
you and
I
you
know
know?
that. So there are these eight kids, right?
Mhm.
On my dad's side, but my dad, since the like 1980, it was his business, really. I mean, I know I
Mhm.
see, it's him and it was my grandpa, my dad, and his brother Dan, till the late 80, or excuse me, till 80. And my dad said it's me. And my dad's a strong guy. He's going to take over and run it. So that's my dad's business. The family didn't have
Okay.
anything to do with it.
Okay.
And then come to me, right? So, and then I just have one brother, and he was not interested in the business.
Got it.
So there were, no, when we were at home and we talk about business, it was just about what we can do for yeah, we didn't compare ourselves to that
Okay.
at all. Yeah, it didn't, we talked business too much. We did. It wasn't about
What's
comparing
right in
families.
front of us? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
lot going on right there, right?
yeah.
Well, so tell me, so the store's still there, it sounds like.
Oh no, the store sold in 2015 to another family grocery business called
Okay.
Woods. Yeah.
Okay.
So 2013 is when I left.
Okay.
We've been working on, well, when I graduated college, my dad said, "You'll buy me out in 5 years." Well, that's 2001. 2009, he's like, "You'll buy me out in 2 years." 2011, my wife's like, "Hey, you gonna buy him out? I think he's just stringing you along he's
Mm,
liking the money he's making." Um, and there's a lot of dynamics, a lot
yeah.
of dynamics. So I took it upon myself in late 2011 to start putting a buyout package together for him. Went to my brother-in-law's a mergers and acquisition attorney for a big firm in St. Louis. And so I went to work with them, lined out some banks, lined out a financing plan, and probably the worst time of the year to show it to my dad was July, which was our busiest time of the year, being a vacation area. But I showed it to him. By the end of the month, he's like, "All right, I think we can do this." And my mom said, "No, I don't want to do this deal." My mom, involved, not involved, it's my mom, right? He's a
Yeah.
spouse. She has been involved in the business, not, while I was there. But so she said no. And I'm like, all right, then my dad and I hit it around. Like he wanted to sell it one way, and I'm like, "Hey, Dad, you want to sell it to me this way? I'll be hamstrung. I need to be able to run it the way I want to run it. I've been running it and I need to grow it. But you're going to put me in a 20-year debt pattern here that I can't expand this the way I want to expand it. I'm going to be holding to remodeling these stores and not being able to expand. I don't want to do it." So summer 2013 just came to head and I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. And as of July of 2013, I won't go into all the specifics. That's
Yeah.
for my own story. But um, yeah, I just said I'm out August 31st of 2013. I'm done. And I had written some automation software for that accounting stuff for the
Mhm.
stores. And I
Yeah.
thought, I'll go sell it to some other supermarkets. And I didn't do very good research. I figured there are more supermarkets like me around, and then there weren't. Um, that's a side story. But anyways, I know 2015, my dad came to me. At that time, I went to work for New York Life Financial Advising. Uh, so I've been successful. I made it up to president's council in the first couple of years of doing that, which is their second to highest level, and was just on the need to take care of my family, needed to pay the bills, so I was
Mhm.
slinging life insurance and investments. My dad came to me and I said, "Hey, I had owned part of real estate with him, third owner, and he was due to buy me out." And so I was talking to him about that, and he goes, "Well, it looks like you're doing fine. I need to sell the business then." So he held on to it for 2 years. People been knocking at the door. When they saw me leave, they're flat knocking at the door.
Oh,
Like What everybody wanted our stores.
Yeah.
And so from I don't know, it was July or August of 2015, the stores were sold by October.
Was that something he ever looked back on and said, were you or your mother that, we should have sold it to Steven, or was it better off
Well,
than
we're
hindsight?
estranged now. We're estranged now. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. We don't. Yeah, we haven't had a relate. We really haven't. And yeah, we haven't had a good relationship since then. Yeah. So yeah, something that I've you try to make peace with, right?
yeah,
You try to do, but that's what family business will do to you. Also, it's a it makes me wonder if it's the right thing or not.
yeah.
You know, because how many succeed and how many don't. So it's a lot of personal philosophical things while I still work with family businesses to
Well,
this day.
they can be exponentially harder than a non-family business because of those exact reasons.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And we at
lots of
one
lots
point,
of massive benefits with a family
yeah,
business.
yeah,
But there's part of that, emotional intelligence and the kind of politician kind of scenario that you spoke of.
yeah. And I think the big issue with me and my dad were both as drivers. I mean, you know, reason to selling this last business is that I don't I don't need a 50-50 business partner. I need to be the majority partner, the one
Mhm.
driving it. Like I just it got to a point of where we needed to get to the next level and what we needed to do. Appetite for risk are different. And yeah, I'm not risk scared.
Yeah.
So
So then you transitioned to building something new. You had mentioned the
yeah,
pro partners.
yeah.
You know, tell me about that journey because you did pretty tremendous growth there, right?
Yeah, no, we did good. We did
Yeah.
good. Like I said, I was in the New York Life financial advising world, paying the bills, and 2015 ran into Wes Hinges, who was my business partner, and he was a New York Life agent also, and had a he called his company Pro Partners Wealth at the time,
Mhm.
and it DBA wasn't a company. New York Life is DBAs, and so that's what he marketed it as. And so I went and visited him. I was in town in little town Tipton, Missouri, visiting a grocery store. Working on estate planning for a grocery store. And so I'd seen what he did, liked what he did, and ran in and met him, and happened to work with veterinarians and farmers. And I didn't know either one of the two, right? But
Yeah.
ended up working with him on helping a veterinarian sell their business to their associate, and just started looking at it, going, man, we can make a business out of this because
Yeah.
the financial advising piece, I've still got some clients that I do investment advising with, and I love doing that with them, but I'm just not, I don't love the going out and sell investments and insurance. It just I could do it, could make money and pay the bills. Um, but I was like, man, I see a business here that's we could build. And so 2015 we started building our processes, and then in 2019 I left New York Life, and then in 2020, which was Wes's like 20th year for retirement, all that kind of stuff, he held on for another year. In 2020 we launched Pro Partners team and started hiring and started growing that business into beyond just the we started our own RIA.
Mhm.
So we did that, still do investments and insurance, all that kind of stuff, but the main you know middle heart of it was business consulting, and off of that came DVM office, so bookkeeping for veterinarians. And then off of that, as I saw that, I was like, man, my supermarket solutions, the optimizing the inventory pricing, really automating things like this could work in this space. So now I got vet metrics. And Wes didn't want to chase that. And it
Mhm.
really wasn't fair as CEO of me being CEO of Pro Partners to try to launch that because it pulled me away from Pro Partners too. So it wasn't fair to the team. I wasn't as readily available over there. I was letting them do their thing, and it was taking a little different direction than I wanted to see it go. And thought, let's let's sell this thing to you, Wes. You run it and go, and I'll take that and go build a new company. So I mean, that's a 10-year talk in a few minutes, but that's the basic
Yeah.
genesis of it. I think moving to Columbia, Missouri helped out though. We moved to Columbia, Missouri in 2017. Access to students interns. I mean, that we got, that's the one thing though, we got a bunch of all our staff was they're college grads, no other work experience. So that was interesting too, was like teaching them everything. Yeah, teaching them literally everything. Smart people, but um it was a lot of fun, good, rewarding work to build. We built for sure, and different experience in the grocery store. Because grocery store, I built things, but I built them on the back of something that was already built. I didn't build something from the ground up. So it's a different experience. Grocery store always felt like I mean, you had momentum on your side there, and then over here you're going, we had to. I mean, I was too dumb to even think about it. Just like we can make this work. Um,
Typical entrepreneur
yeah,
story.
yeah, so. Where here I am again, I can make this work. I mean, so
Yeah.
did a little more research this time than I did on Supermarket Solutions, the original company I tried to launch back in 13. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Part hard-headed, part independence, part reinvention. The story
yes,
of an
yeah,
entrepreneur.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but talk about this notion of independence, right? I mean, there
Hmm.
is even when you're, for the supermarket, independent grocery versus consolidation, and I think you talk about a decent amount about that, and independence.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, to me, as myself, my ethos, or to the broader
Your ethos
picture,
and
the
your
broader
ethos
picture.
internally, and yeah,
Yeah.
how you're working with your customers.
Number one, I'm wired that way. I mean, take for instance, well, I think part of it was when growing up in Lake of the Ozarks in the summer, I had all kinds of friends from St. Louis, Kansas City, Iowa, hung out with in the winter. The street I lived on, I didn't have anybody else live on that street, so I spent a lot of time literally independent, playing in the
Mhm.
woods on my own, riding jet skis and sea-doos and stuff on my own when no one else was around. So I spent a lot of time independent. And so I don't know if it's nature or nurture for me, but I've always just felt like I don't, I'm probably not a very good employee. Yeah, I'm just I'm not a good employee. I want to do it my way. So independence to me means I get to do it my way. Um, and out of that though comes failure and success that means to me for independent businesses are very important because the people that drive independent business are typically wired the same way. Like, let me find a better way to do this. And plus, they're the ones that are in the community that are community leaders that give people a chance, that support community. So I think that, it's interesting. Walmart is an example of changing that ton. And my dad did tell me, so there's no one to put you out of business but you. Walmart won't put you out of business. You put you out of business. And it's true. And Sam Walton say the same thing. Don't do what I do, do what you do. And so the downtown areas that have folded up, they didn't change. We had to change and adapt our business when Walmart came in. What are we going to do and differentiate, um, to succeed? So
Ooh,
independence
that's
allows me to
good
do those
advice.
things.
That is good advice. With all the changes, there's always changes going on,
Yeah.
technology, AI, etc.
Yeah.
That is great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, yeah, independence, I mean, it's in me, man. I'm I go ride my like a bike ride and I typically ride by myself. I want to go when I want to go. I like riding with friends, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I want to go when I want to go. I'm just kind of at that point in my life too, right? Where it's like if I have to go work for somebody, I'll suck it up and do it. Like if I have to, right? I mean, I've done it before working in New York Life. I've done it. I can do that. But you talk about fulfillment. Yeah, I wanna fulfillment to me is a legacy of helping fight for independent veterinary practices in the spot I'm in now, which means fighting for independent businesses that, I think does add to community because we need more people that can fight and do those things and so that's what I'm trying to do. I guess that's what
Yeah.
independence means to me.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I mean, and so on some of your clients, right, whether they're family businesses or not, there's always, especially if they're successful,
Yeah.
there's that constant pressure. Somebody's knocking on your door, hey, sell, consolidate,
Sure. Sure.
I mean, heck, I get three, four, five emails a week from private equity,
I still do, and I'm not even there anymore. They want to buy pro partners,
right?
So
Um, I mean, so what advice would you give to a family business that's getting that pressure,
yeah,
to
absolutely. Well, so I mean, it depends, obviously, right? But I mean, staying independent, it's like it is your legacy. It is your ability to look back on what you created is still there making a difference in the community versus if you sell the private equity, maybe you get a bigger check. Question
Mhm.
is, what did I do for your lifestyle? Did it really, if you got 5 million versus 3 million, did that move the needle?
Right.
I mean, you live in that community now. Still, you're probably going to retire. It's like, so what? There's a lot to think about on that side, and I think that I just started. Lauren just finished. My wife Lauren just finished Ezra Klein's book Abundance, and I'm cracking into that now. And it's just this. I think the problem is that Heather McGee said it really well in her book, the Sum of Us, talking about the zero sum game, talking about it goes back to like Georgia Pacific in the northeast, all the way down. She traveled all over the place, and capitalism. Let me just try to tie this together. Capitalism, like socialism, like communism, are theories. They're all like ideas, right, of how to have a better society. None of them are in existence today. None of them, because of human greed. And I think independence to me is knowing what is enough. Knowing that, yeah, I want to make money. Don't get me wrong. I saw Porsche bring out their new 911, Patrick, Dempsey. I'm like, I'd like to have one of those. I would. I would. That's probably gonna require me to make, $750,000 a year or something, right? $1 million a year. That's enough. I don't need to make 100 million or 2 billion. It's like it's kind of gets to that to go, do we really need to be billion? Yeah, it's like I'm looking at that. I used to think that. I used to think that I wanted to be that. I wanted to go Paul Supermarket in this huge deal. And I started this vet metrics with the thought of I'll build $100 million company. But it wasn't fulfilling me, man. And I don't think it fulfills anybody. I mean,
I was talking about this with a couple of their entrepreneur friends this morning, and one of them mentioned I think it's Ben Hardy book. You ever heard of Dr. Ben Hardy?
yeah, yeah.
Gap in the Game, and how
Gap in the gain. Yeah, sure.
have you read
Yeah.
that one? I haven't read it yet.
I know I've snippets of it, but yeah, I've talked about the gap in the gain in a
Talking a
talk
little bit
before.
about this, the horizons, and
Yeah.
you can build your $100 million company, and then there's always something else on the
There's
horizon.
something next. Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
ever reach it. You don't
Hmm.
ever, yeah, you don't. And other thing too is there's so much learning in the gap. The journey's there that you
Hmm.
completely gloss over while you're shooting for this over here.
Let's bring that full circle. So you said you have one son. Do you have any?
Three. I
Three.
have
Oh,
three. Yeah.
oh. What are the
Yeah.
ages?
20, 18, and 16.
Well, I've got a
Three
you're
boys.
you're probably at like phase four. I'm at phase zero. I've got a 3 year old and a 1 year,
Yeah.
a one and a
We're,
15-month old.
well,
There's still diapers involved.
that's what family business allowed for us. I think that's why my wife and I went that direction because we wanted to start a family.
Yeah.
And that afforded us the ability to start a family. We wanted kids to be done by 30. And so, yeah.
Well, so in thinking about, the lessons you've learned, and now, we're touching on some of the philosophical things of entrepreneurship, capitalism, how do those conversations go with whether it's working with each other, siblings, or, them wanting to work with you after graduation? How do those conversations go?
No, I mean, we don't, that's not happening. They're doing their own thing. And they've
Yeah.
never asked me to. They want to do their own thing. And I want them to do their own thing.
Yeah.
My oldest is he wants to race in the Tour de France. I mean, he was a cross country runner, successful there, got an injury, started cross training on the bike, fell in love with it. My middle son, he wants to be at NASA, um, astrophysics, looking off into space and time and understanding just how we all get here, that kind of stuff. My youngest, he's the designer. He probably would love to work for Porsche designing the next 911, So yeah, they've got their own things. That's independence. I love that.
Yeah.
And when Pro Partners are created, it was created on stewardship, meaning that yes, I own this company? If you want to say that, but I believe I'm a steward of this thing for the next person. Stewardship is what matters. So independence also leads me to be able to have a stewardship. Like I create that metrics is about stewardship for the next people, whoever that is, that take that and go to the next level. It's not my legacy will be that I had a part in creating that and it endured. But I don't, ownership is a weird word to me. Weird word to me. So, um,
I don't really like
yeah,
I don't really like when somebody calls me boss. I don't know what it is. It's just something about it. It's just
yeah.
like
Depends how they say it. Like
you're
I said,
true,
depends.
true.
Yeah, it depends how they say it,
Yeah,
right? But yeah,
right,
no, it's like we work together. Like I work
right.
at, it's kind of flipping that pyramid over where I work for you.
Well, I mean, we're all as a team extremely interdependent, right?
Yes.
The success
Yes.
of any one of us is interdependent on all of us working together. You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
Yeah.
and you get
Yeah.
one, two of those little, teammates kind of, not aligning, dude. It's a recipe for just mediocrity,
Yes.
and it all falling apart. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, well, tell me this to kind of wrap it up.
Yeah.
What is you've had such great experience, and thank you for sharing so openly. Um,
Yeah.
what is one piece of advice that you would give to, a first generation founder considering bringing in, you know, other family members, period, whether they're currently
Yeah.
doing it or just thinking about it, right? Kids, and you're, that are in your age, that kind of teenage to 20-year-old. What kind of advice would you give to that first generation founder?
I think they need to read about other people's experience, number one. I mean, what they need to do, they need to read other experiences of what success looks like. They have to plan for that. It's a lot of hard work. And what's going to work? Yeah, what does your business need? Who are the key people in there? Yeah, are you going to overstep somebody who thought they were going to be in? I mean, yeah, you need to research where your company's at, where it best needs to head, and and look at that. And then I think one of the best things is go have them do something else first. If they want to come back, you know, great. But they might find they don't want to. Have them do something. I know that could be a hard thing for somebody, but have them and don't help them. Let them go struggle. Don't financially support them unless it's dire, right? Don't, because the thing about a family business is I took a lot of my risk aversion is because I always had a safety net. Always had a
Mhm.
safety net. I wasn't afraid to drive fast, take risk, right? Because we'll fix it if it breaks. Not a big deal. I don't have to worry about it. We got the money to do it. And so yeah, I think that they need to go struggle because they will never understand the feeling you had. You can talk to them all you want about the struggle, but yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice, let them go struggle. Understand what you went through to build what where you're at.
And thinking about governance and governance, that whole word stewardship you mentioned.
Yeah,
Typically you're not really it's not coming up until a third generation,
correct, correct.
family. And we see many of the most successful families that go into the fourth and fifth generation, saying the same exact thing,
Hmm.
have to go work for some period of time, call it, we most commonly see between 4 and 6 years somewhere else. Uh,
Yeah,
for many
Yeah.
different reasons, right? You know, they
Right.
scratch
Yeah.
that grass is greener itch, right? You might love it, you know, and be totally passionate about it. If you do want to come back to the family business, well, you're ideally bringing back some new tools, you
Right.
know,
Yes.
so the family can continue to evolve, uh,
Hmm.
the business can continue to evolve.
Yeah.
Steve, man, this has been
Yeah.
powerful, man, powerful.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah,
You too. I appreciate getting to know you.